Hello there. I'm Teresa Norton, and I want to welcome you to The View from a Broad. I'm the Broad, and this is the podcast where we unpack a newspaper column I wrote some 30 years ago when I was living and working and raising a family in Hong Kong, a city that I still adore, although I'm living in Lisbon now and enjoying my time here. I wrote these columns, and it's kind of interesting to unpack them and see what is still relevant 3 decades later, and what feels out of step with the way that we either feel nowadays or the way the world has changed, or both. So to help me in this endeavor, I have my guest this week, global real estate consultant and, just basically wonderful human being, Brian Brenner. Brian and I met in Hong Kong in 2000, but he now lives in Southern California with his family, where he advises companies around the world, supports U.S. life sciences firms, and is a board member of Hugo University, which we're going to hear more about later on in the podcast. But right now, let's give a listen to the column that Brian chose. It's do or diet time. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, but as I write this at the end of the very first day of a brand new year, I'm not wondering what the future holds. I can tell you exactly what I have to look forward to for the next 3 days anyway. See, I've received a diet by fax from a friend which guarantees that if followed exactly will lose me 10 pounds in just 3 days. I know. This is not a sensible way to drop the post-holiday pounds, but I need to see results right now, or I'll find myself waddling down an aisle with a shopping cart full of half-price Christmas puddings, reduced to clear candy canes, and end-of-the-year sale chocolate Santas. It's either the 3-day wonder diet or a week of Slim Quick strawberry-flavored hasty shakes. Now, let's just see what lies ahead on this fax diet, shall we? Day 1, breakfast. Black coffee or tea, half a grapefruit, 1 slice of toast, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Lunch, half cup of tuna, 1 slice of toast, coffee or tea. Dinner, 2 slices of any type of meat, about 3 ounces, 1 cup of string beans, 1 cup of beets, 1 small apple, 1 cup of vanilla ice cream. The next 2 days are pretty much the same, but at the end of each day, some vanilla ice cream sits in a little bowl like a carrot to spur you on. Well, no, actually, it's like the opposite of a carrot. After a dinner of string beans, beets, and a small apple, I reckon I might be tempted to stab somebody with the sharp end of a carrot if they offered it to me. At the bottom of the page, there is a hypothesis for why I will lose 10 pounds in 3 days. This diet works on chemical breakdown and is proven. Okie dokie. Sounds pretty damn scientific to me. Where do I sign? One cautionary note is offered. When no quantity is given, there are no restrictions other than common sense. Excuse me. People with common sense don't go on 3-day diets to drop 10 pounds. They join Weight Watchers, lose 10 pounds in 3 months, and keep it off for more than 24 hours. After 3 days of dieting, you can eat normal foods, but do not overdo it. What? If I were capable of not overdoing it, I wouldn't be going on this damn diet in the first place. Beats for brains. Sorry, I get a little touchy on the eve of a diet. I'm okay. Now, let's just carry on and get to the end of the facts. After 4 days of normal eating, start back on the 3-day diet. You can lose up to 40 pounds in a month if you stick to it. Hello. 40 pounds in 30 days? So if I stick to this diet for 3 months, I could finally get back into that dress I wore when I was baptized. The final line on the fax reads, "Remember, don't snack between meals." That sounds to me like the only piece of advice that could possibly have come and been contained in a diet that claims to be from the American Heart Association. Now, I hasten to add that this diet has not been printed on anything vaguely resembling AHA official letterhead, and it looks to have been photocopied and faxed as many times as your average chain letter. Come to think of it, the only thing missing is that line reading, "Don't break this diet or bad luck will befall you." A woman in Hong Kong who broke the diet was found to have choked to death on a manky slice of last year's Christmas pudding. Don't break the diet. Am I going to go on this crazy diet? You bet I am. Having survived a week of roast turkey, turkey sandwiches, turkey soup, and turkey hash, a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter, and a cup of cold beets don't sound half bad. Hello, Brian.
How are you doing, Teresa? Nice to see you. Good to be a part of this.
Oh, it's always so good to see you. And this is, it's kind of special because, as I said, we met back in 2000 and we were both in the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong.
And that's how our friendship began.
Absolutely. That's how you and I got to be buddies. And this friendship has just lasted over the years, and it makes me very happy. So let's get back to that column. I mean, what still feels relevant to me about that column? I am still trying to lose weight. And I go back through these columns that I wrote, and there were a lot of them about my size. And of course, the crazy thing is I look back at pictures of me 30 years ago, and I think, what the hell was I talking about? I looked fabulous, because the march of time has not been kind to my my hips. So
we never liked the last picture, but when we look back at the earlier pictures, they're never as bad as we thought they were.
What are some things that stood out to you about that column?
That we're still trying to lose weight, that we're still waking up on January 1st and trying to reinvent the wheel. And the whole thing is that I keep on thinking about is, why do we keep on using the word lose? Everything's about gaining in this world, but we're losing weight or we're gaining weight, and that's bad. So I keep on thinking a lot about that. And I think about how much of my energy or mental energy has been spent on trying to do this. And it's just, to me, if there's one thing in my life that I could get rid of, it would be that thought process that involves around how my body reshapes.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brian. Yeah, what are we doing? It's not about, it doesn't have to be about losing weight. It could be about gaining health, right? Gaining more vigor, gaining, a better look in a bathing suit. I'll tell you something. I live 10 minutes walk from the beach here, and I've been here for like a year and a half. I still haven't gone in the water.
We got to change that.
She was afraid to go out in the water. What song's that? It was an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot. Anyway, the point is, I keep thinking I'm just going to wait till I look better in a bathing suit. And if I do that, I will never go in the water. So I'm just going to abandon all hope and get in there. I remember in Hong Kong, there was a Dove campaign. Well, there was a worldwide campaign by Dove Soap to celebrate women of all shapes and sizes. And the one place where it didn't take off? Hong Kong.
No kidding.
And not
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, clearly there is a sense of a look that is the look that one ought to have, I guess. I don't know. I just remember I was a president of an organization called Women in Media for a while. And we had a talk from one of the guys who was one of the big 4A's advertising agencies. And they were the ones responsible for the Dove campaign. And he was talking about how frustrating it was that, they'd have these posters up in the MTR of women, that are shaped like I am now. And that did not get a good response. So,
well, it's interesting thinking back about Hong Kong. Everybody's got different body structures. And I always had kind of a heavier set body structure. I always worked out almost every day, religiously, which is why if you get to the beach every day and you build a habit of that, you will be there every day. And I think that's one thing I've always done really well ever since I was in high school. But I'm in Hong Kong, and people will call me a Feijai, which means fat boy. I think that's the translation. And it would offend me, and I would be on guard. And over the years of living there, I realized that they weren't really calling me a fat boy as much as they were trying to show me that they're paying attention to me changing, which was their intention to try to show that they cared. Yeah. And it's also because people come from different body structures. So I would sit there and have the same meals as everybody else, and I would blow up, and they would never change.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like,
not
they got a
fair.
better metabolism. Why am I, schlepping these weights up and down the hill every day? And look back at it, and I'm like, I'm so glad I did it, but I did it with the wrong reasons. Like, it's not for losing weight; it's about gaining life. So
Yeah.
coming back to that earlier point I was making, but yeah, it's crazy to think about how much of our life gets invested in that, and maybe that's why in Hong Kong, like, you don't see too many people that are overweight. People are walking a lot more. People are more, maybe the diet's a little bit different.
And
You
I
know,
think even in older age, I used to go down to Happy Valley Racetrack to do my tromping around the track, but there would always
hmm
be groups of elder folk doing, Tai Chi or doing some kind of group exercises or dances with fans and swords and things of that nature. So there's a double whammy benefit to that, apparently, not only the health and balance part of it in terms of physicality, but the emotional and mental part of being constantly surrounded by
yeah,
people and not
socializing.
isolating
Yeah,
in your old age.
that's one of the reasons why people are fit, because they are involved, and it's such a dynamic social place. You can't avoid. I remember somebody said to me in Hong Kong, they said, the only time that I ever can find time to be alone is when I'm in a taxi. I'm like, with a driver though. That's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about like how much of this you're talking about different metabolisms and things. How much of this is hereditary? I mean, when you look at your shape, do you take after one side of your family or the other, or is it something that is, just you, baby? What would you say?
How do I say this the right
Uh
way?
oh.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, it's definitely genetic. Well, mom, her side had some weight issues, and my grandmother was overweight, and my mom, as a result of that, has been very healthy her whole life, and was taking good care of her. There you go, mom.
Yeah.
Well done, and you're a good example. And then my father also, he wasn't terribly out of shape, but his body didn't like blow up the way that my body would blow up. So Japanese wife Mayumi, she's pretty healthy. We actually exercise every morning together, and I noticed that when we eat the same things, and the same things have different effects on our body.
I was just going to say that, talking about like family. Now my brother, it's incredibly unfair. He got the long lean genes. I don't know where from. I mean, he got those, I guess, from, well, my father was not heavy. His sisters were pretty petite. But my mom was always battling the bulge. And in fact, I have her diaries, not, and it's interesting because her diaries are not sort of, dear diary, I'm thinking today about the sadness of, no, it's not like that. It's like, I got up this morning and I did this, and then I did the laundry, and then I took Teresa to the blah, 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 blah. So it's really just a catalog of what she was doing. But invariably, it comes back again and again to the idea of going on a diet, losing weight. Oh, I got on the scale today. And I just think to myself at this age and stage, I mean, I'm a lot older than you are. You're 51, I'm 69. I'm thinking, how much more effort do I feel like I want, or mental energy do I want to pour into this notion of getting to be a certain size, and how much of it would I rather just enjoy and then maybe gain, what did you call it, gain life instead of lose weight,
Yeah,
kind of just do things that I enjoy that get me moving. I think that's
yeah.
going to be my
I
my
love
kind
it.
of motto.
That's how I look at it. It's like, what am I able to do? I'm 51. I'm outrigger canoeing 3 times a week for 2 hours at a time. I'm skiing. I can ski with my 18-year-old son, and I can hang in there with him.
Oh,
I'm doing my yoga still for 20 years since I started it in Hong Kong at Pure Yoga. I'm doing these things that make me feel good every day, and I feel very fortunate and grateful about that. So it's like gaining life, but it's
yeah.
not really, you know. And I guess, like, when I get around the holiday times and I start and indulging and losing sight of it all, I can't fit in my clothes, and I feel like crap. And I walk into the office, and everybody around me's got their beach bodies, and I'm like this 50 or 1-year-old schlub. Like, it doesn't feel good. and then you're self-conscious, and you walk to a meeting, and then it affects your
I have one word
ability.
for you, Brian. I have a
Yeah.
word for you. Caftan.
Okay.
Caftan. I live in the world of caftan now. It's kind of that, billowy, flowy thing. You might want to think about, adopting that look when it gets post holiday time and, it's too hard to buy elastic waist trousers for men. I don't
Well,
know.
how about this? When you start seeing on your Facebook feed or whatever, well, all the algorithms throwing all that stretchy clothes on, and your ability to, okay, here we go. Now that's a sign of trying to lose a little weight. I've entered a new consumer market. Yeah,
Do you come from a family of fast eaters?
possibly. I never really thought of it that way. I've had friends that have these long dinners with their family every night, like an hour long, and I always admired them for it. I'm like, if you can build a culture in your life where you have a meal and then you enjoy your interaction and you enjoy that beautiful food that's in front of you,
Well, I'm living in Europe, and that is a big thing
that's
here
the
for
way, right?
sure. Yeah. But I will also say that, I came from a family of fast eaters. It was kind of like a bit of a joke for us. I had one aunt, my father's sister, who was a very slow eater. So we'd all be around the table for Thanksgiving, and then we'd get to the end and we're all looking towards dessert, and Auntie Blanche is slowly cutting up the turkey stuffing and and I remember one time Joe and the kids and I went to a restaurant, and they said in Hong Kong, and they said, we're going to have to, yes, we can get you in, but we're going to have that table back, in an hour. And Joe said, how fast can you get the food to us? That was going to be the only barrier to us not getting out of there in
Yeah.
less than an hour. How fast can you serve us? We can get that food down our throats in like 15 minutes. The other thing that stood out to me in the column was the thing about chain letters,
Hmm.
which is a very dated thing. If a
Oh,
lot
that's
of this
true.
still feels relevant today, the thing of chain letters, the closest I get to chain letters today, chain letters, for those of you who can't remember them, were things that you would get in the mail that would have been, photocopied, I guess, back in those days, and then sent to you in an envelope and said, you need to make copies of this and send it to 5 people or something horrible will happen to you. There was always a threat attached to it. The closest I get to those things now are things that pop up on, like, I don't know, Facebook feeds or something. They say, please, if you care for me, please post this and put a smiley face next to it. And I think, don't strong arm me into this.
Yeah.
I naturally really push back against that kind of thing. So the little joke in there about the chain letters and don't break this chain and, don't, don't break
Oh,
this diet. That's what that was about. Hey, listen, buddy, we have been talking here, and I think it's time for us to have a little break. So let's pause right here. And we are back, and it's time for an infomercial. And Brian Brenner, you have got a really interesting nonprofit that you wanted to talk about.
thanks. Yeah, I absolutely would love to. So Yugo University is a organization that's about 3 years old that was founded by
Mhm.
John Wood, who is the founder of Room to Read. For those of you may be familiar, um, Room to Read was an organization that was promoting literacy across Asia. And after 20 years of his efforts of bringing libraries and schools to many low-income countries in Asia, there was a gap. These kids were now in high school and graduating and going to college, and there seemed to be an uneven balance between men and women getting those opportunities in college.
Uh,
And John, who's a friend, he lives here now in Solano Beach. He spent many years in Asia Pacific. For those of you who may not know him, he kept on getting approached by females that were in the program how much they wanted to go to college, and it always, broke his heart when the Room to Read stopped at the high school level. And
right.
when he asked one of the girls about going to college, what would the cost be? She said, it's going to cost this amount of money. And it was 800 US dollars. And John
Wow.
nearly fell off his chair, realizing how affordable and how attainable that could be and how expensive it is in some places. So, Hugo University has set out to help girls in low-income countries have access to college. And for $800, that pays for one girl's tuition and room and board for 1 year. And over the last 4 years, we've raised well over 10,000 scholarships, full rides that have been in 9 countries across Asia Pacific and Africa, and it's growing at a very rapid rate. Very, very proud of being a part of it, and I got involved in Room to Read when I graduated from Kellogg HKUST in Hong Kong, where we donated 2 schools to Vietnam, and staying in touch with John, who was always very, graciously involved in all of our lives since that point. We got involved in his charity, and I was really happy to be a part of it, and just being part of seeing its growth, and getting my daughter involved, who's just starting high school, and she was fundraising for it and helping out at fundraisers. My wife Mayumi, who's always had a reasonably successful career, who's also Japanese and has had the ability to you know be challenged by gender inequality. That this
Mm.
to me seems to be the greatest way. And I want to say one last thing: is why is it so important? It's because in these low income countries, the reason that females get the opportunities is because there's a higher probability of them giving back to their communities, whether it is getting their brother into education or somebody in their community, but they're playing a role, a more important role in their future, their community, and at the end of the day, it creates a whole, upper helix effect of in terms of everybody getting involved and becoming more educated and more successful, and these are also people you'll never know. I can go on and on about it, but it's very. I'm very proud to be a part of it. I'm very proud to see its success, and we're still in its infant stages.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I did take a look at the website and it's very inspiring. If you want to check it out, it's Ugo. That's letter UGO university.org. And it's really worth taking a look at. Thanks for sharing that. I know that it's a big passion project for you, and they're lucky to have you on board, Brian. So we're back, and let's hear that true story that was stimulated by the column. I know that you and I have talked about both having the Battle of the Bulge, but what's something, a memory that came up for you?
Well, I guess I keep on thinking about all the diet fads that I've had exposure to since, so it's a story of my life really where, it's college, the freshman 15 gets packed on, you're going on
Oh, well,
spring
wait a minute.
break.
Slow
Here we
down a
go.
second here. I
Yeah.
want to hear these piece by piece. So college is the freshman 15. Is that you're
Yeah.
supposed to gain 15 pounds or?
Allegedly. Well, that's what everybody does. Why? Because you're eating pizza and drinking beer. Not everyone. I did. I was good at it. Anyway, so spring break's around the corner. You're going to go to some beach, and here comes the cabbage soup diet. What's the cabbage soup diet? The cabbage soup diet is eating cabbage soup for 10 days. Well, guess what? You lose 10 pounds.
But nobody wants to be around you.
Oh my God. That's very true.
Good for
Anyway, so you kind of build this habit of seeing it. Then you go to your friend's house and you gained your weight back and you see their parents doing the Atkins diet. And what's the Atkins diet? That, if you remember, that's the protein diet where you don't eat any carbs and you get into this
That's right.
ketosis state. And
I had a friend who had to pee on a stick because he was on that diet and he had to make sure that he didn't have, I don't know, too much of something dangerous going on there.
right. So you do that and you see everybody doing it and you start losing weight. Then you get your blood checked and your cholesterol is like, 2 times what it should be. So then you get kind of caught in the system and they say, well, we got a solution for you. So then you get a statin drug, it brings your cholesterol down. Now you're taking a drug every day and that's not necessarily a good
Ideal.
thing.
Yeah.
So then you get through that and you start realizing it. And one thing that the column talks about is common sense. And we
Yeah.
find ourselves in this category trying to lose it quickly because we didn't do the work along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that I can go on and on and on, but I always laughed about saying that I failed at every diet that was laid out in front of me, and
Yeah.
until I realized that the most important way of praying of doing it is not is trying to build yourself to not worry about it. And
Yeah.
if you don't worry about it and you start looking at the way that you eat in terms of a social experience, and when you do eat, you're not busy doing other things. You're
Mm.
present in what you're doing, and then it starts to pay dividends, and then you start fitting back in your clothes, and then you start playing the game with a little bit of guardrails. And I think that
Yeah.
that's been kind of what my big learning. But so it started out with those early day diets and thinking you can just do it quickly, and it's great business, great marketing.
Well, and the funny thing about that crazy diet thing was that there's another column down the line that I'll share with somebody that's about how Joe and I actually did the whole thing and got on the scale. And you know what? After, whatever it was supposed to be, 5 days or 6 days, we had lost weight. But it's who you can't live like that. The one time recently when I very happily dropped 30 pounds was with an app that's called Noom. It's and
Yeah,
basically it's very similar to Weight Watchers or whatever. It's consciously it's calorie counting, but it's also dealing with being more mindful, as you
being
say.
aware.
Slow
Yeah,
down, be
absolutely.
aware of what you're
Sure.
when you're eating, enjoy eating. Don't eat while you're watching Netflix, which, I'm guilty of that. So,
Well, the one program that really worked for me was it was Kenzai, which is a fitness group setup where you have every day you have a workout, but you also have a diet, and it's based on the amount of food that you eat, and it's a 90-day period. So I lost 45 pounds doing that, and I looked great. I felt great. I was actually almost having a six pack, versus my 24 pack that I normally had. Mhm.
I know what I should be doing. It's not like I can't figure it out. I don't know what to do. I know what to do. I have to get obsessed and stay obsessed and not obsessed with losing weight. I like your concept around not focusing on the losing, but get obsessed about treating myself better in terms of the quantities and qualities of what I'm
Mhm.
putting into my body, right? You know?
Yes. Well, I think that's a good in gaining life. And I think, trying to, I don't know, go to, when you look at a menu, don't go for what's in your default, go for something you've never tried before. And they're usually healthier. And
Yeah.
sometimes if you go for the healthiest alternative on the menu, it's actually the most delicious. I was just going to say that, like, when I did these programs, I would always revert back to something or my old ways. And that's insane when you look back at it. So it's really a matter of just building a habit and kind of leaning in that habit every day. And then, don't worry about it too much.
Something that's coming up for me is just I was having so much fun gaining life and fitting into smaller clothes in the process. I enjoyed it so much. It wasn't a burden. It wasn't something that was tough. It was something that gained momentum and felt great. And what I have to remind myself is not, oh, I need to lose weight. I need to think, I need to get back to enjoying that process again. So
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
that's the key message here is that it's not whatever process you use to take care of your body, whatever shape it's in, to really do something that you can enjoy and
Hmm.
find the joy and the fun in it. And I take a page
Hmm.
from your book about varying the ways that you're exercising. Do things that
Yeah,
are fun. You don't have to do something that's a
totally.
slog.
Well, and I would also add that, like, you have other people in your life. So when you're gaining life, you're actually making yourself healthier, and you're going to live better days in your future with those who are around you that care about you. And if you're able to put yourself in that kind of frame of mind, it's not a matter of suffering. You get in a place where you're eating the right way because you're doing it for others.
Yeah.
And you're going to be around longer, and you're going to have a better quality of life. As we humans are able to live longer, a lot through chemistry. Maybe we can try to way to keep up with the chemistry by making sure the chemistry we put in our body is going to be helping us along the way and not hindering us. Gone are the days of eating Peter Basmagian's plate full of toffee when he puts it in front of me because he doesn't want it to be sitting in his office like he did once upon a time.
I know Peter Basmagian will be listening to this, so that's great. That's definitely staying in the podcast. Okay. Well, listen, Brian, it has been so much fun being able to talk with you. And I love everything about the attitude that you bring to the things that you're passionate about. And one of them I know is Yugo, because when I was visiting Los Angeles, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and you were talking to me about this project back then. I'm going to give the website a plug again. It's Yugo, U as in the letter U, Go, university.org. Just go and check out the website. It's really very inspiring. And I mean, $800 to send a woman to college for a year and cover her room and board and tuition, right? That's amazing.
Thank you for that. And it's a real pleasure to be a part of this. And I wish you all the best, Teresa, and with this podcast.
Well, thank you. And listen, we are now on YouTube as well. So you can easily like, share, comment, subscribe, all those things that we do in this world of podcasting. And we're grateful to have you with us. Hey, breathe all the time. Come up slowly. And whatever you're going through, whatever shape you're in, emotionally or physically, hang in there, because what if it's good?